So the time to stand up is now. It is at a time when this virus is taking a toll on America right now. It is time to stand up and let your voice be counted. This is where the debate happens. We don't hold back. No, we don't shy away. No, we don't back down. We stand on the ground where we know the foundation is solid. These issues are bigger than me. These issues are bigger than one person. We are in this for the well-being of our communities. This is about the future of this republic. So yes, we're in the fight. Yes, the bell has rang. So put your armor on. Stay woke. It's the Early Talk wake-up session. Let's get to work.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring.
Come out here in the midst of a global pandemic, but we believe that you can do the mighty and the miraculous. So we are encouraged today because as your son sacrificed his life, so too are your people willing to lay down their lives for your justice, for your cause. And so we pray that you would just continue to protect them, keep them, cover them as they go forward. We ask, Lord, even that you would hold back the hands of the enemy as he seeks to tear down and to destroy. We thank you, Lord, that those people who are out here who are in need, that you would meet their needs. Lord, we come against those systems that have been put in place to disenfranchise us, those systems that have put in place to make us think that we are not equal, that we are not more than what you have created us to be. We thank you, Lord, that you have created us all that you know, even the very hairs on our head. We thank you, Lord, for the spirit of love and unity that exists right now in this moment. Let it continue to permeate the atmosphere. Let it go into the halls of justice. Let it go to City Hall. Let it go to 250 Broadway. Let it go to each and every household that is represented. We have come here now to tear down the stronghold.
And I am here with Kim Council. She's running for Brooklyn Borough President. And it's a great thing. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here with you this morning.
Yes. So I guess one of the questions that comes to mind is that why Brooklyn Borough President?
The borough president has the ability to do a lot across the borough of Brooklyn. All the business of Brooklyn comes through the borough president's office. He also has a nonprofit. I will have a nonprofit that will allow me to, do a lot to help to bring people together and expand resources. We've seen a lot of inequity and an equitable distribution of resources. I've worked for several years as a nonprofit executive and sat on several nonprofit boards part-time while working full-time. And I'm looking to bring that real world experience to Brooklyn and level the playing field, particularly in the areas of inequity around education, healthcare, and housing.
Okay, so based on that, if elected, what would be your first priority?
I mean, I think the most pressing thing that we're facing right now is affordable housing and affordability of housing. I think the current formula that they're using it prices us out of our communities, and it's not indicative of the localized area median income. So when developers come to the borough president's office looking to build new projects, I want at the lowest threshold, 60% affordability. And we're talking about affordability based on people's income. People should not be paying more than 1/3 of their salary in rent. Unfortunately, many Brooklynites pay over half of their salaries in rent. So we've got to fix the formula quickly. So there's a lot that the borough president can do. The borough president can support small businesses and of course advocate to the governor, to the city council members. The borough president appoints members to the community board, to the community education committees. and also to the parents' education, the PEP. So there's a lot of different things that the borough president does, and there's about 12 people that are running for that seat. So if it wasn't a popular position, we wouldn't have that many people interested in it. And Brooklyn has never had a woman at the helm, and I think it's time for a woman in leadership at Borough Hall.
That would definitely be a great thing. Now we are in the era of COVID-19, if you will. And, you know, obviously there's certain places around the country that are basically dropping mask mandates, and they're opening up 100%, which in my mind, sometimes I wonder, you know, how long we're going to be dealing with this. So in that respect, the kind of reality kicks in and says, okay, we may be in this for a little bit longer than, because, you know, certain states, or if you will, don't necessarily follow CDC guidelines. So based on that, how can you guarantee that you would, or how would you make businesses aware and regular citizens aware in Brooklyn that you are aware of testing and contact tracing and vaccine distribution?
So we've done a lot. I actually have a special page on my website specific to COVID. So people can go to kimcounselforbrooklyn.com and you can find out where vaccine sites are. You can find out how to set up your appointment. You can find out where testing is. You can find out, you know, information about all types of aid and different things that are out there. You know, particularly when it comes to small businesses, you know, we need to do a better job of helping them to get the resources that they need, because I know that they've been devastated. Our communities have been devastated. So there's a lot that is going to have to happen around COVID right now and COVID relief in the future. And so, you know, we just have to make sure that we're connected and we're following the science. We have to make sure that we're listening to the experts and that we know what's what. I know that there was a lot of apprehension, particularly in minority communities, around the vaccine because it has not been around for a long period of time, and there's a level of distrust. But I can say with firmness, we know more people who've died from the coronavirus than we know who've died from being vaccinated. And this vaccine will help to keep you alive. As a matter of fact, I had my first shot of the Moderna vaccine on Tuesday, and will be getting my second shot on the 30th. And I think it's very important, you know, that we listen to the experts, that we talk to people who know what's going on, and then we disseminate that information, and not just in English, because there are over 400 languages that are spoken in the borough of Brooklyn. So we need to make sure that that information is being disseminated in a responsible way, but in a way that, you know, everybody can understand what's going on. Russian, Spanish, Chinese, whatever languages we need to put it in, Urdu, Bangladesh, we need to make sure that we're doing that.
Now, Brooklyn Borough President also appoints members to different boards, correct? So my question then is, what kind of people are you going to be looking to appoint to certain boards in Brooklyn?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that should come from me. I think that should come from the community that the people will be serving in. I think the people that serve in the community, the boards should be reflective of the communities that they serve. And so I think that this should be something where the community has a say. So often our leadership is top down and not bottom up. And, you know, people on the ground know what they need. They know what resources are necessary. And we also need to be creating. We also need to create pathways for our young people to begin to understand how government works and how government runs. So in addition to, you know, having this community board and having the community have a say in who gets appointed to their various boards, I want to create a junior community board that would mirror what's happening with the actual community boards.
That's a good thing. And I definitely think it should be the case. Now you got Brooklyn Borough President can also spearhead kind of legislation, can go to the mayor and basically let him know what needs to happen and what kind of priorities that Brooklynites need. What kind of legislation right now are you thinking of that first that Brooklynites would benefit from and that you would tell the mayor?
Well, I think the first piece of legislation, like I said, is redefining affordability. And we also need to have a serious conversation about creating a sustainable wage. There's this argument at the federal level about creating $15 an hour, which anybody who has done the math knows that simply moves people from one level of poverty to another level of poverty. And you cannot survive in New York and Brooklyn on $15 an hour. You can't take care of your family. So we need to begin to have a real conversation about creating a sustainable wage, because one of the things that we learned during Hurricane Sandy, when you pay people what they're worth, crime goes down. And we often treat these issues as we compartmentalize how we approach these types of things. And these things are interconnected. Having our children having a great education, having a place where you can live that's safe, being in a community that is safe and free from, gun violence and drugs and all kinds of other things, and being able to work and bring home a decent salary so that you're not living from paycheck to paycheck and you have more month than money. That those types of things are important. And so, we need to create a sustainable wage or a living wage for people that are living in New York City. We need to redefine what affordability is. And we need to reinvest in our healthcare systems, and we need to reinvest in New York City Housing Authority in those types of developments. And we need to begin to start thinking about affordable home ownership. It seems like we've kind of walked away from that conversation. We need to be creating more homeowners, and it needs to be at a level that is affordable for people.
Yes, yeah. Also, there's a lot of controversy, if you will, in New York right now. There's a lot of things, I should say, going on as far as New York State politics. Question, obviously there's things going on around the governor, and recently the Congress just stripped him of emergency powers regarding COVID-19.
Around the governor, I think we need to let the investigation go forward. I think Tish James is more than capable of handling that investigation, and we need to see what happens at the end of that, what information is uncovered and what types of things come out of that investigation. I think it is unfortunate in this day and age that, he did not behave better. And he did not create an environment that was not safe for everybody. It wasn't just, women that he is accused of sexually harassing, but there's also a pattern of bullying. And the thing for me is that I think that this speaks to a larger issue of his character, of who he is and how he governs. And this is not new to anybody who is in New York and who is engaged in politics. I mean, we only need look back at, like what was going on with the Moreland Commission. And when we had this Moreland Commission that was investigating corruption within, government, as soon as they started to knock on his door, he shut the commission down. So there's this pattern of behavior that has been unacceptable, and even the policies that he's put forth, separate from other things that have been harmful to New York City and to communities of color in particular. And so I think that sexual harassment in any form is unacceptable. And being a bully and being abusive in your power. I mean, understanding the power dynamic that's going on here. This man is the governor of the state of New York. We expect him to know better. And so I don't think that there is any excuse for what has happened. But in that same regard, everybody is entitled to due process. So, while I think that the complaints are credible. I think we need to let the investigation go forward. But I also think that there needs to be a lot more education around, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And I don't know if he has attended sexual harassment trainings, but beyond having those trainings, he has 3 daughters. He should know better.
Okay, good conversation. Good conversation, and best of luck on the campaign trail. I know it gets crazy out there.
Thank you so much for having me here and asking these questions. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
There are 3 separate platforms involved in that. One of them is essentially genetic platform, as exemplified by mRNA. Other are vectors, such as chimp adeno, human adeno, VSV, measles, and then there's the standard recombinant proteins. So to just give you an example of why we feel that the speed in no way compromises safety or even scientific integrity, but it doesn't solve the problem that you mentioned, that people perceive that we're going so fast that there may be a reluctance to want to get vaccinated. So the Chinese published the sequence of the SARS coronavirus 2 on a public database on January the 10th. I got my team together on the 11th and said, we got to partner with Moderna to develop this in an mRNA platform. By the 15th, that's 5 days, we started doing it. 65 days later, we were in a phase 1 trial. And 6 months later, we were in a phase 3, 7 months later, we're in a phase 3 trial. That process normally would take a few years, but we didn't compromise anything. It isn't as if, we injected people and weren't worried about whether or not there's an adverse event or, so now what we have is we have 3, and very soon we will have 4 candidates in phase 3 trial.
We have a very special guest today. Her name is Erica Cook. Erica is a board-certified family nurse practitioner, currently practicing in community health for the underserved, uninsured, medically disadvantaged population in Virginia. She has been in the medical field for over 10 years and has served in a variety of settings, including critical care, urgent care, and acute care. She is the creator of Melanin Meets Medicine, an IG page dedicated to celebrating minority health care providers and highlighting health disparities prevalent in minorities. Good morning, Erica.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We have Lisa Spencer. She studied at the College of New Rochelle, author and founder of the website www.bluejoy.com. We also have Constance Avery, founder and chairman of needsforsleeves.org and a political activist. We also have panelist Mark Edward Powell, political science graduate, founder and chief of esoteric educational officer at I Am Ascension Mastered Self Academy. Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be here.
Erica, can you talk about how COVID-19 has affected the everyday lives and health of healthcare workers, particularly minorities? And do you have any stories that you can highlight to let people know more about it?
Absolutely. COVID-19 amongst healthcare workers overall has been very trying. There's been a lot of deaths among healthcare workers, a lot of people that we know, mostly nurses, about 30-something% of them are nurses. And 2 is there's an aspect of isolation from other family members or friends who are scared to be around someone that works in the healthcare field. But from what I do know, as of October of last year and counting, healthcare workers are dying almost at 10 times the prevalence of the general population. So out of like 100,000 people, there will be 27,000 healthcare workers that would be affected by COVID, as opposed to the 2,700 that would be affected in the general population. So, it's a real fear, especially bringing it home to your family. You definitely don't want to do that. There's been plenty of healthcare workers that, get scared that they're exposed at work and don't go home for 2 weeks. People with newborn babies just getting married, so it's been really tough.
Now, do you think the healthcare field is articulating the seriousness of this disease? In other words, like from the healthcare standpoint, not even from the government, are we getting the message out there good enough?
I think we are trying. I think that unfortunately, due to media, I'm not going to point fingers, but lies spread faster than the truth, for sure. I mean, there's an algorithm on social media for that specifically, for false information to spread faster, which is why they started to put disclaimers underneath anything COVID related. But definitely in the medical field, for sure, we're definitely telling our patients real statistics, real methods of prevention and transmission, and quarantine data and all of that. What I can speak to specifically is like the facility that I work for. We have mostly minority patients. We do have an infection control department. We do have a specific department that their sole job is distributing vaccines, distributing information. We've specifically put money into marketing to be able to get information out to churches, to community centers, to our patients any way that we can. So, it is being done. I think that there's a lot of mistrust among the public when it comes to healthcare, especially when it comes to minorities, because we already know the history with minorities in healthcare. It's not conducive to any kind of trusting relationship, right, based on past occurrences. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. And I always tell my patients, try to find someone, a provider that you can identify with. If that happens to be somebody that looks like you, then let it be, but find somebody that you feel like can be real with you and that you feel genuinely cares and that stays abreast on the knowledge that the CDC is putting out.
Now, the thing is that generally speaking, everybody, knows how to protect themselves and people are saying wear a mask and things of that nature. What I really don't hear, and tell me how you feel about this, is I don't hear people talking about how to protect yourself if you live in the space of 3 people or 4 people. Let's say you have, there's a husband and a wife and they have 3 kids and they're going to school and there's how do people protect themselves in that kind of environment?
It's very, very difficult, especially if you're not trained medically to know a sterile field or a sterile technique. Someone that's not in the medical field is not going to know that you don't touch something dirty with your clean hand or whatnot. They're not going to know that technique. That is hard, especially for people, minorities, Blacks and Hispanics for sure, because part of the culture is to live together, multiple generations in one house. Everybody's trying to get in where they can. And so, and a lot of times before you even show symptoms, you've already had the virus for 5 or 6 days. So you really don't know that you're transmitting it when you are. And so, it would be unrealistic to say, stay away from your family. You can't. But what I can say is to try to make sure that you're keeping your immune system, healthy. We do advocate for vitamin C for sure and zinc supplements, because even in like the ICU, there's been studies to show that helps prevent sepsis and death from sepsis. So, those vitamins are very important. And then also, of course, masking, washing your hands. And, if you're living in the same house, there's really not much you can do but try to prepare yourself for if someone in the household was exposed. Also, eating healthy, not smoking, not drinking, trying to live somewhat of a healthy lifestyle. But that's a tough one. I don't know that that's possible to prepare someone to prevent from spreading it to their family.
Do you think,
especially if they don't know they have it yet?
Do you think kids should be wearing masks, like kids that's 5 and maybe 10 years old? Or?
Well, based on the data, the children don't get as severe of symptoms as adults do. So, I don't know if you have children, but you try putting a mask on a 2-year-old and see how long that lasts. Right. So, I see in my general area, and then, with the CDC, 5 and up needs to wear a mask. So, I mean, you have to do that. You just have to do the best you can with the mask. Yeah.
Because we don't even know if children can carry it.
Children can carry it. We know that children can carry it. Children can carry it. They just don't have as severe symptoms, severe presentations as adults do, because they don't have most children don't have all of the comorbidities that we have as adults: high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, COPD, smokers, drinkers, unhealthy diet. A lot of the kids don't have that yet, so they have that to their advantage.
Mark, you have a question?
Thank you for breaking that down, Erica, and explaining that. I really appreciate that. My question is more of, with the death rate so low, what is the secondary or what is the lingering effect for a person like myself who knowingly has contracted and recovered from COVID twice? What can I expect, because, some reports say 97% of people who catch it get over it. Some say 95 total. I don't care about the percentage. What, with that number, it tells me that the majority of folks who catch it recover from it. What can we expect as far as side effects or lingering effects, or what are some of the things that we should be looking out for?
That's a really good question, because we're still learning about this to this day. The COVID virus stays active in your system for 14 days, like live shedding virus, right? After 14 days, typically from what we know, the virus is dead. We have seen a lot of post-COVID syndrome, and that can range anywhere from just extreme fatigue for several weeks after the virus, irregular heart rate, dizziness, what they call POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia, which is basically when you go from a sitting to a standing position, your heart beats really fast and you faint.
Absolutely.
And we've seen kidney failures. The virus lives in organs, hearts, kidneys, brains. So it's just, we're still developing that data, and we're still following patients and reporting on that. But what you could expect after the fact are those things that I just said, for sure. And possibly not everybody gets that.
Right. Well, I didn't suffer from any of those, and I lead a very clean and healthy lifestyle and a clean and healthy diet. Over 88% of what I eat, I prepare it myself. It's organic, things of that nature. But my second question, with the efficacy of the vaccine still in doubt, and still, I'm from the old school, so anybody telling me that you develop a vaccine in 9 months, I'm gonna tell you to go fly a kite. With all that being said, how can you, as a melanated healthcare provider, healthcare worker, how do you assuage the concerns and fears and complaints and anger of melanated folks like me who are saying, hell no, I'm not taking no vaccine in no 9 months. No, I don't care what you say.
This question. I'm so glad you asked that. First of all, I acknowledge their feelings. That's number one, because I identify with that. I know about the Tuskegee syphilis experiments. I have patients that still have syphilis, generations of, neurosyphilis, to this day. So I get it. You know what I mean? So what I do is I tell them the data as it relates to the efficacy of preventing the virus. So I'll tell them, as far as the Moderna and the Pfizer, they have between 95 and 98% prevention rates. And then, of course, the new Johnson & Johnson one has 66%. But I also break down their comorbidities: diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, obesity. Are they a smoker? I pretty much know what their hospitalizations are. And I tell them, this is something you really have to think about. First of all, you have to arm yourself with knowledge. I want you to do research. I'm going to give you links, but I want you to do your research, because knowledge is power and we need to take that. That's number one. And number two, I want you to think about Am I willing to take the risk of getting COVID and having a possible mortal outcome? Or am I willing to try the
Fair
vaccine
enough.
after you've seen the data? I don't recommend the patient get it or not get it. I just tell them, I want you to do your research and I want you to think about it and make a decision, and you let me know. Now, me personally, I made that decision and I got the vaccine, but I did the research, and I was willing to take that risk after all that I've seen.
Before Lisa asked this question, I wanted to ask you, do you know why the vaccine was produced so fast?
I think it seems like it was produced faster than an ordinary vaccine would be produced because we were all on edge and watching and waiting. But typically, once a vaccine goes through a few trials with a few thousand people, then they start sending it out to the FDA for more research for more permissions for it to be used, and they do more research. However, with the amount of people that were getting ill and the high transmissibility of the virus and the amount of deaths, they had to consult with the FDA to get emergency use to try to combat the pandemic. And from what I'm seeing, the numbers are going down as we vaccinate more people.
There's a lot of older people that don't want to take the vaccine because they have a longer way to go to get it. Like, in other words, I know out here in New York, sometimes you have to go a distance to get the vaccine, which plays into a elderly person's anxiety about getting the vaccine anyway. So I'm wondering if they're going to come up with a lot better ways to distribute the vaccine, wherein older people can get it at their doctor's offices or somewhere close.
I totally agree with you. I actually did some research on the CDC, and I noticed that one of their objectives was to make the vaccine more accessible to Black and Brown communities, being that we're so disproportionately affected by the COVID vaccine. And I hope they actually do that. I really do. I mean, we're distributing the vaccine. We're a community health center, a federal community health center. We are distributing the vaccine, but you're right. It needs to be out there, and the attempts that have been made thus far to get it to people of color or people that are disproportionately affected have been thwarted by people signing up other people that are either paying their way up the list or, I hope they fix it. Okay.
Nurse Erica, it is so heartwarming hearing that you are a champion for the underprivileged.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, truly. And so, thank you for that. Not only are you our shero for being on the front line in a way that is unimaginable, and I encircle you, enfold you in the heart of my prayers. I cannot imagine. I think of this often, the PTSD that our frontline workers, the healthcare professionals will have, and the trauma that you are currently living through and living with. And so my heart is with you. My first question would be, so I hear that the different vaccinations have different efficacies and in certain areas, like the new J&J vaccination is targeted to decrease deaths and decrease the severity of the disease. Whereas the Pfizer vaccination has a higher efficacy rate overall. So my question is, can you mix vaccinations? Can you get J&J and Pfizer so that you can have the best of both worlds?
Well, right now they're recommending that you get the first one that you can get. So as far as the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, that should be a single dose vaccine. So if you get one dose, that should be it. But as far as Moderna and Pfizer, if you get Moderna the first time and Pfizer the second time, just get what you can get.
Okay.
We don't recommend that,
Mm-hmm.
but with the current state of the lack of vaccines that we have, it's not, encouraged, but it's okay if it happens.
Okay. And so for me, myself, I have not taken the vaccination yet because of the warped speed of everything, though I believe that the reason why they were able to put it together so rapidly is because SARS, COVID-1 that came out in China in 2001 is not a new disease. And so I'm thinking that Blake and I discussed this before. I'm thinking that there was already a model out for it, and so that makes sense why they were able to put it together so fast. However, to see it play out in real time and the kinds of side effects that people are going to have, and there are so many conditions that they do not talk about, COPD. There are populations also that they do not talk about, like the street homeless people, and they are overlooked. They are very vulnerable and intentionally invisible because they seem to be America's, or New York's, in my case, New York City's eyesore. And I know that street homeless individuals all over this country are treated as such. And so is there some kind of an effort to roll out vaccinations to street homeless people?
According to the CDC, the vaccines are being distributed based on comorbidity and basically the possibility of the risk of death in each individual. So I wouldn't say that they're looking specifically at the homeless people, because a homeless person could in fact be a healthy person. It could be, maybe just be somebody that fell on hard times or something. But if that homeless person does have those comorbidities that can put them at higher risk for death, then they are certainly eligible to get that first.
Right.
But I get what you're saying, and yes, they do have a plan. The CDC has outlined a plan to get it to disadvantaged and disproportionately affected populations specifically, but they are working on it now.
Okay, that's good to hear that they're working on it now.
Microbiology, I'm fully aware of the metabolic pathways and other things that are taking place when we're talking about the origin of the illness, which is SARS itself. But I've been expressed the distrust of the medical world. Unfortunately, to Black people, I am not going to take the vaccine, and I heavily encourage Black people not to do it, because one of the things that the elder members already brought up, it is true, a vaccination does not happen overnight. And so it is a great concern that the average vaccination takes about 7 to 8 years to perfect, to be honest. And so we have one in less than 9 months. I am very concerned. And I definitely think that there is a lot of factors that has not yet been visited nor understood. This kind of reminds me of a study I did in 2013 for my dissertation of my undergraduate study. At that time, they were studying a form of cancer, and they were using a virus to treat the cancer with. But the problem with the cancer treatment was, of course, we have not fully expressed the reality of mutation. And so to me, that's what we're waiting on now. As a person who has the understanding of what we're doing, the process of mutation has not fully expressed itself. And unfortunately, for everyone that has taken this vaccine, you are now a guinea pig for that process. And I just feel like for Black people, until that takes place, we really need to hold off and wait and see what happens. Everybody's genetically different in a lot of ways. DNA is a unique factor. RNA is the piece that transcripts that information for your DNA cellular information. And again, when we take vaccines and medications and all these different things, these are things that are going to alter the metabolic pathways of your body. And so unfortunately, we have not fully seen nor addressed that. And to me, that's a concern that I have to wait as a Black leader to my community to say, no, we cannot do this until we fully know the information. So unfortunately, I wish you the best, Ms. Erica Cook, because more power to you, because you definitely, I hope you fully are aware, I think you do aware of what you're doing to yourself by taking that vaccine. But you have basically made yourself a sacrificial factor here, because if things go wrong, we are going to learn from you why it went wrong. Unfortunately, particularly for Black people, especially Black women, you are holding a whole genome code for our generation right now to understand if this is something truly effective or non-effective for our particular people. So that's just kind of my breakdown of that particular situation as my outlook of hearing this information and being directly connected to someone doing the groundwork of putting vaccinations down. I mean, our community's doing the same thing. As I tell elderly people, you know, you're at the greatest risk, in my opinion, immunocompromised individuals as well. So I agree with Ms. Cook. I'm not going to tell you how to do that decision for yourself, but I would definitely say historically, it is not in our greatest interest as Black people to take this vaccine at this time until more data is truly revealing itself of what we are dealing with and what it does to our bodies once it enters our genome concept.
Okay, so to me, this portion right here is very interesting because, you know, there's a lot of people that feel just the way Constance feels about this issue. And sometimes I think of it in my mind, I say to myself, is this a failure of the federal government? And I hate to bring it back to this guy, Trump. You know, I hate to bring it back to his communications. I don't mean to bring Erica into the politics of this because I want her to break the medical portion down. But again, matter of fact, let me get right back to, because we'll discuss that on the political end. But I just wanted to say that, Erica, for people that do want the vaccine or people that do want more information, for anybody who is trying to learn more about this vaccine, I mean, yes, it has been done very quickly. Tell them where they can go to do their own research and get the facts.
You would go to, well, the first place you can go if you're looking online, you can go to the CDC website. Now, with that being said, the average person would not know how to study a medical or look at a medical study and determine whether it's valid or not. So that's why I say it's really, really, really important that you have a healthcare provider that you trust and you believe have your best interest at heart. Now, I respect Constance's opinion for sure. I get that a lot. And this is why I tell people you can choose to take it or not choose to take it. She has every right to feel the way that she feels. I did my research and I don't particularly agree with her sentiment, but I respect it for sure.
I think that the federal government, even now, even though we have a new president, anybody that's associated with the health of American people, and not only that, we have to address the issue all the way around the world, because if one person in the world has it, that means we're all at risk. And I think that, questions need to be asked more, and the federal government has to do an even better job. 100% is not good enough. The federal government has to do a better job in order.
Yeah, I'm gonna in on that. I'm gonna chime in on that. I really have to because my soul say something. Say something. So I'm gonna say something. So my comment to that is that I countered that statement, Miss Erica Cook. I counter that. Because number one, 60% of medical students do not believe Black people feel pain. Let's start there. That's a reality check. Most Black women
Is that the study that what you read a study that said that?
Yeah,
is that where you're getting that from?
2019 study where they went around and surveyed students who are predominantly white and asked them basically, do they believe Black people feel pain or not? 60% were found that they did not believe Black people feel pain, and that's 2019. The second factor is that many Black women struggle getting adequate healthcare services from their medical providers. We all know heavyset Black women particularly really struggle getting adequate healthcare because the first thing their doctor want to say is what? Oh, it's tied to your weight. No, it's not. Some things are definitely weight factual, but a lot of things actually are not. And I have heard personal stories from Black women who discuss these concerns about going to the doctor and getting simple MRIs done because they're having issues in their wrist where they think they possibly have carpal tunnel. We're talking about simple. And doctors deny, they say, oh no, you're overweight. And it's like, how does carpal tunnel actually relate to weight? In reality, it doesn't. If she used a keyboard all day, we all know the chances of her having carpal tunnel are probably pretty high just because it's an active, repetitive cycle of her wrist usage. That's what gives carpal tunnel. So given that statement, I think there is definitely fair suspicion for Black people to curiosity address this vaccination. And if it's truly,
I agree with you 100%.
So
I agree with you on that.
It's not fictitious information. This is a reality of 620.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I'm Black too. I feel what you're saying.
Exactly.
I really, really do. At the end of the day, the change has to start. No, I don't agree with your sentiment about not receiving the vaccine, but I respect your decision not to get the vaccine. That's what I was talking about.
Can I just say that? Can I just say that I
can't hear anything.
Said that the reason that I said that you dismissed my beliefs behind not taking a vaccine, but it is true medical fact of this trust.
Well, I said I don't agree with it. I don't dismiss your opinion at all.
What did you say exactly? You said you agree with something.
Right. I don't agree with her decision as far as or her opinion about the vaccine, that people should not get the vaccine. I've done research as well.
Why would you?
I totally respect. I respect your opinion though.
Well, I'm asking you the reason why you agree that Black people should. I don't care about anybody else. I'm just asking why do you agree Black people should take it?
Well, I don't. In the research, I have not seen a reason why they should not. I mean, I get what you're saying about the time frame, but as far as the ingredients that are in the vaccine and the technology that is in the vaccine, and the trials that were done in the time that they were done, showed that the vaccine was effective. So, I get what you guys are saying. I get what you guys are saying about the time frame. Like I'm not oblivious to that. I totally understand that. However, my coworkers are dying, my families are dying, my friends are dying, and I'm putting myself at risk every single day going to work. So I felt like me being someone that's exposed to the vaccine.
Hold on, Constance. Hold on. Let her talk, and then you can speak.
The vaccine.
I just don't know. That's not being realistic. What is the ingredients of the vaccine? How about we start there?
I don't have the entire list of the ingredients, but I do research them for my patients, and I give it to them. But it's
have that
because it's available. Everything's available on the CDC website.
But you know what? I think what's important. I think hold on, everybody. Hold on. What I think is important, though, is that when we start talking about hold on, Constance. Hold on. When we start talking about the medical field. The medical field has a long history on corona. Am I right, Erica? The word corona has been around for a long time.
The point is that the medical field has a long history of mistrust with the African American community. So it's
So does that mean you should mistrust everything that the medical community says?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's
Okay.
actually no, we do not trust everything.
No, I'm
That's
saying, does that mean
we don't
we should
believe
not
everything that they
trust
say
everything
either.
the medical community says?
I don't believe everything you say either.
But no, I just want to break down, just like really quick, Erica. Yeah, really quick, Erica. Though, Erica, hold on. I just want the viewers to hear something, and then they could go, and research these issues. Long story short, Erica, just explain really quickly that Corona, the origin of how Corona came about. Like, Corona is not a new word. It's not something new that explain what Corona is.
Now that's a microbiology question for sure. That's a little bit out of my field. But basically, it has been around for a long time, and it just has mutated into something that has become more transmissible and stronger over time.
So in other
Which viruses do mutate.
Right. And also, if a virus mutates, this is my own question, it's important to get to that virus as soon as possible because it can mutate over time.
No, you want to wait till it mutates.
No. Listen,
but
you want to wait till it mutates.
That's why they have a flu vaccine, a different flu vaccine every year, because the flu mutates every year. So this may be something similar to the flu vaccine. As we'll see, each year we may have to get a vaccine similar to the flu.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm not.
And so if I could jump in here.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I hear points from both Nurse Erica and Constance that I agree with in part. As to Constance's point, I understand why there is the distrust from our people as it relates to the medical field, both from yester centuries and right now today. So right now today, the substandard healthcare system, a doctor sees you for 10 minutes, and they're rushing you out of their office. You cannot know what it is that I'm suffering from, suffering with. If you're going to see me, diagnose me, write me a script in 10 minutes, it does not work that way. So I said all that to say that only compounds the frustrations and the fears and the distrust even more. And so, and COVID has uncovered and unveiled all of the mess and all of the disparities. And now you're asking for people to trust in a very substandard, dismissive, disrespectful to Black people, underprivileged people, and the poor, especially don't show up in there and they think you're homeless. Okay, don't show up there on an emotionally bad day where you're suffering an injury to your mental well-being. Our people and people in general, especially of the working class and the poor, are dismissed on a regular basis. So this 10-minute service that they're doing is a disservice.
I understand.
But at the same while, your points are very good, and that's something when it comes right down to it, we're not a monolithic community of Black people. Some of us actually want to take the vaccination, and so it's a decision and a choice that
it's a decision. Yeah,
it's a very personal one that we have to make for ourselves.
And I just want to say that I am not the spokesperson for the entire medical community. But what I can say is that me personally, I every person you named, Miss Lisa, those are the people I work with. Those are my patients every day. Those are my people. Okay. And those are the people that I'm there for and that I look out for. And so, you know, I think amongst healthcare providers too, there's a lot of dichotomy and, you know, indifference on who is going to get the vaccine and why, because there are a lot of healthcare providers that are not going to get the vaccine for similar reasons that you guys are explaining. But they've done their research and they feel that they're, just like you guys said, 9 months is not enough time. 9 months is a very short time. But at the end of the day, like if you think about it, back when the flu first came out, these are the same death rates that the flu had. And they had to come up with something before the deaths kept growing and growing and growing. So yes, it is rushed. However, I hope that eventually we can rebuild the trust. You know, being that there are a lot more healthcare providers of minority, we're in the thick of it as well. You know, we deal with racial issues from both sides of practicing medicine and from our patients. So, you know, I don't just empathize. I feel your sentiments. I feel exactly every word that you speak. And, you know, I try my hardest to address these issues with patients. Some agree with me, some don't, but all I can do is do my best and present the data as we know it.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. As you know, this show is hot.